We, the jury, find the defendant Jeannie K. Whitefeather guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of human trafficking of a minor child. We, the jury, find the defendant Donald Ray Lance guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of human trafficking of a minor child.
Well, first tonight, a historic verdict after a more than 2-week-long trial. The couple accused of forced labor and child abuse of their adopted black children has now learned their fate from a jury.
Now, this was a split verdict, meaning it was not a straight guilty or not guilty for both of the defendants, Donald Lance and his wife, Jeannie Whitefeather.
Yeah, let's take a look at really all of those counts. So what we know, Whitefeather was found guilty of all 19 counts against her. You can see them right here on your screen: human trafficking, civil rights violation, forced labor. The jury did find that Lance was not guilty of 4 civil rights violations that they deemed Whitefeather was guilty of. And when it came to child abuse, there were more charges for Whitefeather because of an incident involving spraying the adopted children with bear spray, which Lance was not charged with.
Anna Saunders has been following this case for us all along. She has reaction tonight from attorneys on both sides on this historic trial and verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant Jeannie K. Whitefeather guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of human trafficking. We, the jury, find the defendant Donald Ray Lance guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of human trafficking.
For the first time in West Virginia history, human trafficking charges and now convictions handed down to both Jeannie Whitefeather and Donald Lance. Kanawha County Assistant Prosecutors Chris Kravaniak and Madison Tugg, who worked this case, say this is something that has never happened before at the state level.
First time the human trafficking statutes have been charged in West Virginia, we believe. And the civil rights violations aren't charged very often in West Virginia. They're tough cases to prove, and we appreciate the help we got from everybody on the team and also the office.
Whitefeather and Lance not visibly showing much emotion in the courtroom as prosecutors say Whitefeather now faces up to 215 years in prison. Lance looking at a max of 140.
I think they're upset, right? I mean, but they understand that the jury heard all the evidence. I think it's fair to say they are upset, but they look forward to continuing with the criminal process. There's a sentencing, there's an appeal process that they look forward to. And like I said, it's understandable that they're upset, but they also understand that, they had their day in court.
This case all stemming from the October 2023 discovery of 2 of their adopted black teens locked in a shed in Sissonville, about 5 months after they moved here from Washington State. Investigators later uncovered more evidence, including videos, pictures, text messages, that the jury got to see that it was not just the teens, but also their adopted 11-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter victimized too. The home surveillance videos from cameras Whitefeather and Lance kept on the kids, showing the 5 days leading up to the shed rescue, where the kids would be forced to stand all day, sleep on the floor, take no baths, only allowed to eat peanut butter sandwiches. 2 months before they were locked away, they could be seen by neighbors working and standing in the yard at all hours. Once the neighbors started sounding the alarm, the kids spent most of their time inside, too, in the shed. But perhaps the most compelling part of the trial was when 3 of the children victims testified in this case against Whitefeather and Lance, detailing years of abuse, neglect, racial comments, and isolation.
It's really hard for an adult to take the stand and testify against a stranger. I can't imagine the courage it took for a child to take the stand and testify against someone who, at one point in their life, they considered a parent.
In a rare move, both Whitefeather and Lance testified in their own defenses in this case, denying the allegations against them. But for the jury, this was not enough, as they found Whitefeather guilty on all of her charges and Lance found guilty on all of his except for the civil rights violations.
When Mr. Lance testified, he communicated through his verbal and his nonverbal cues that it made clear to the jury that he had a good relationship with the children, and race never really came in his mind when making any decisions.
The jury deliberated for 8 hours on Wednesday after sitting through more than 2 weeks of trial and thousands of files of evidence, ultimately returning what the prosecution was seeking: justice for the kids.
These cases mean a lot to us. We take a lot of this personally. You know, this is our community, and these are the children of our community. And so if we're not going to fight for them, then who will?
The two will be sentenced by Judge Mary Claire Akers in March. In Kanawha County, Anna Saunders, Eyewitness News.